Chapter 2. The Price. 3 days felt like 3 years. Sirius stood in the doorway of Tyrone's bedroom, watching his brother sleep. Normal sleep, not the death-like stillness of 5 days ago. His chest rose and fell in steady rhythm. Color had returned to his face. The blue tinge around his lips was gone. Saved, healed, alive. Sirius knew this was good, understood it intellectually. His brother would live a full, healthy life. The demon had kept his word. Nothing stirred inside him. No relief. No joy. No satisfaction. Just the flat, clinical awareness that the objective had been achieved. Like checking an item off a list. Save Tyrone. Complete. Next task. It had been this way for 3 days. Tyrone had woken the morning after the summoning, confused but whole. The physicians had declared it a miracle. Tyrone himself had laughed, embraced Sirius, said, "I knew you'd find a way," with tears in his eyes. Sirius had returned the embrace mechanically, said the right words, made the appropriate gestures. But inside, nothing. Like watching someone else's brother recover. Like being a puppet going through motions it had memorized. "You're staring again." Sirius blinked. Tyrone was awake, propped up on one elbow, watching him with concern. "Just checking," Sirius said, "making sure you're still breathing." "I'm fine. Better than fine, actually." Tyrone sat up fully, running a hand through sleep-mussed hair. "I feel amazing. Whatever you did, thank you." "Again. You already thanked me. Multiple times. And I'll keep thanking you." His brother's smile faded slightly. "But Sirius, you're different. Since I woke up, you're distant. Did something happen?" "Yes," Sirius wanted to say. "I sold 7 months of my emotional existence to a demon. I can't feel relief that you're alive. Can't feel joy. Can't feel anything about the fact that you're sitting there healthy when 3 days ago you were dying." But he couldn't say that. Couldn't burden Tyrone with it. Not when his brother was finally blessedly healthy. "I'm tired," Sirius said instead. 5 days of watching you die took its toll. I'll recover." Tyrone studied him for a long moment, clearly unconvinced. But he nodded. "Get some rest." "And Sirius?" "Seriously, thank you." Sirius nodded and left before his brother could see that the gratitude meant nothing, that the words landed on emptiness and disappeared. The demon returned at midnight. Sirius felt it before he saw it. A change in air pressure, a smell of cinnamon and smoke. He was in the library, staring at a book he couldn't focus on, when heat washed over him like opening a furnace. Malachai stood by the window, flames still flickering around the edges of his form before solidifying into bronze skin and dark clothing. 3 days, the demon said, as promised. Sirius closed the book. "I remember." "Do you?" Malachai moved closer, those amber eyes gleaming. "Or do you just remember that I said 3 days without the anticipation? The dread? The fear of what's coming?" Sirius opened his mouth to respond, then stopped. The demon was right. He'd known Malachai would return, had prepared for it logically. But there'd been no anxiety, no growing sense of doom, just factual awareness that an event would occur. "That's what I thought," Malachai said, satisfied. "The relief I took, it's already changing how you process everything else." Emotions are interconnected. Necromancer. Remove one thread, and the whole tapestry shifts. "You said 7 months, 7 rituals." "I did. And tonight is the first." The demon gestured toward the door. "Shall we?" "The crypt is traditional for these things, and we wouldn't want to wake your brother." The crypt was exactly as Sirius had left it 3 days ago. Candles burned to stumps, pentagram drawn in dried blood, the lingering smell of smoke. Malachai descended the stairs ahead of him, moving through the family tombs like he owned them. "Here," the demon said, stopping in the center of the stone chamber. This will do nicely. Sirius positioned himself across from Malachai, maintaining distance out of habit rather than actual wariness. He should have been afraid, should have felt his pulse racing, hands trembling, survival instinct screaming at him to run. Nothing. Tonight, Malachai said, beginning to circle him slowly. I'm taking fear. All of it. Every instinct that keeps you from walking into danger. Every warning voice that stops you from doing something stupid. The little hesitation before you take a risk. The sharp clarity when something is wrong. The demon stopped directly in front of him, close enough that Sirius could see flames moving beneath bronze skin. Fear keeps you alive, Necromancer. Removes the barriers between thought and action. Makes you do things a rational person would never attempt. Those amber eyes gleamed. I wonder what you'll do without it. Will it hurt? No. The extraction is painless. Living with the absence. Malachai smiled. That's where it gets interesting. He reached out, placing one warm hand over Sirius's heart. Ready? Sirius nodded. The demon's hand began to glow. Heat spread through Sirius's chest, not burning, but invasive, like fingers reaching inside, searching for something specific. He gasped as the sensation intensified, spreading through his body like molten gold through veins. Malachai's other hand came up, pressing against Sirius's temple. There it is, the demon murmured. Fear, buried deep, woven through everything you are. The fear that Tyrone would die, that you'd fail him like you failed your parents. The fear of being alone, of never being enough. The terror that drove you to summon me in the first place. The heat in Sirius's chest pulled tighter, concentrating into a single point. And beneath that, the primal fears. The instinct that keeps you from touching fire, from walking off cliffs, from trusting demons. Malachai's smile sharpened. Especially useful, that last one. Sirius wanted to pull away, wanted to protest. But his body wouldn't move, paralyzed by the demon's magic, held in place while something fundamental was extracted from his core. The heat reached critical mass, and then pulled. Sirius screamed as fear tore out of him, not gently, not like water draining, like roots ripping from soil, like organs being harvested, like something essential being torn away and leaving gaping wounds behind. He could see it, golden threads streaming from his chest and temple into Malachai's waiting hands. The demon's eyes blazed brighter, pupils dilating as he consumed the extracted emotion. His mouth opened slightly, drinking in Sirius's fear like wine. The threads kept coming. Fear of death, fear of failure, fear of pain, fear of loss, fear of being discovered, judged, executed like his parents, fear of Tyrone dying, fear of demons, fear of the dark, fear of being alone. All of it pulled out and devoured. The screaming stopped. The extraction ended. Sirius collapsed to his knees, gasping. Sweat soaked through his shirt. His hands trembled violently. But inside, calm, flat, empty. Malachai released him, stepping back. The demon's eyes were practically glowing, skin flushed bronze bright with absorbed power. He looked satisfied, sated, like someone who just finished an excellent meal. Exquisite, the demon breathed. 15 years of accumulated fear, the terror of a child watching his parents die, the desperation of watching his brother slip away, the bone-deep dread of being truly, utterly alone. He licked his lips. Delicious. Sirius pushed himself to his feet, legs unsteady but functional. How do you feel? Malachai asked, watching him with predatory interest. Empty. More than that. Try something. Try what? Malachai gestured toward the stone stairs leading up. Walk to the edge. Look down into the darkness. Tell me what you feel. Sirius walked to the stairs, stood at the precipice where stone dropped away into black nothing. The third level of the crypt descended further than anyone had mapped. He could step forward, could let himself fall. The thought generated no resistance whatsoever. Just an option, like any other. Interesting, Malachai said from behind him. No preservation instinct at all. You could kill yourself right now and feel nothing about it. Is that the point? Part of it. Fear keeps mortals alive. Without it, the demon moved to stand beside him. You're dangerous. No hesitation. No second thoughts. Just action and consequence. Sirius tested it mentally. If someone threatened Tyrone, he'd kill them. Not from protective rage, just because it was the obvious solution. This is going to be a problem, Sirius said. For you or for everyone else? Both. Malachai laughed, genuine amusement that echoed through the crypt. I do enjoy your honesty. Most mortals in your position would be denying the implications, pretending they're still in control. I am in control. That's the problem. I'm in too much control. No fear to stop me from making terrible decisions. Exactly. The demon turned to face him fully. So here's my advice, necromancer. For the next month, until the second ritual, be careful. Your judgment is compromised in ways you won't recognize until it's too late. Lean on your brother. Let him be your fear when you can't feel your own. And if I don't, then you'll probably do something spectacular and stupid, and I'll have excellent entertainment. Malachai's smile was sharp. Either way, I win. The demon began to fade, flames consuming his form from the edges inward, then paused, reconsidered something. One thing, Malachai said, and his voice had shifted, curious rather than mocking. Your brother. Why haven't you told him? About the bargain. About what others thought. Sirius blinked. The question seemed almost genuine. Would you, in my place? Malachai studied him for a moment too long. I don't know. I've never had a brother. It wasn't an answer, but it was something stranger, an admission of ignorance from a creature who seemed to know everything. The demon shook his head as if dismissing the thought. 1 month, Malachai's voice echoed. When the moon is right again, I'll return for the second ritual. Until then, try not to die from your own recklessness. He vanished in a rush of heat and the smell of cinnamon. Sirius stood alone in the crypt, at the edge of darkness, hollow and unmoved. He should go upstairs, get some sleep, drink water, recover from the extraction. But why? What was the urgency? What was the risk? There wasn't any, not that he could feel. So he stayed there, standing at the precipice, staring into black nothing, until dawn light filtered down through the upper levels and Tyrone's worried voice called his name. Only then did Sirius move, not from concern or relief or any emotion at all, just because his brother wanted him to. And that seemed like sufficient reason, for now. The conclave tower stood in the heart of the city, black stone and brass fittings that gleamed in afternoon sun. Ansenvir's office was on the 7th floor, high enough for status, low enough that he wasn't isolated from the council's daily operations. Perfect position for someone who wanted power without obvious authority. Larissa stood before his desk, hands clasped behind her back, face carefully neutral. 29 years old, demon huntress for the past decade, with a record clean enough that no one looked too closely at what she'd done to maintain it. Cassian didn't look up from the document he was reading. Mid-50s, silver threading through dark hair, wearing council robes that probably cost more than Larissa made in a year. Everything about him screamed respectability, authority, trust, which was exactly the problem. Larissa. He finally set the document aside, folding his hands. Thank you for coming on such short notice. Of course, counselor. I have a task for you. sensitive, requires discretion and your particular expertise. She waited, said nothing. Let him explain. Cassian pulled a folder from his desk drawer, slid it across to her. Sirius Ashtar, necromancer, 25 years old. Recently came into the family fortune after his parents' execution 15 years ago. Larissa opened the folder. A sketch stared up at her. Young man, dark hair, sharp features, intense eyes. Below it, a list of accomplishments and affiliations. Nothing immediately damning. What's the problem? We have reason to believe he's consorting with demons. Specifically, that he's summoned one for illegal purposes, possibly to circumvent a death curse. Summoning is illegal, Larissa said carefully, but proving it is difficult. I know. Cassian leaned back in his chair. Which is why I need you to investigate. Quietly. Get close to him. Observe. Document any demon activity. And if I find evidence, then we bring him before the council. Execute him like his parents. Cassian's expression hardened. The Ashtar family has been a problem for generations. Pushing boundaries, flirting with forbidden magic. It's time to end their line permanently. Something cold settled in Larissa's stomach. She'd taken assignments like this before. Investigate, document, report. Sometimes the targets were genuinely dangerous. Sometimes they were just inconvenient to someone powerful. She'd learned not to ask which was which. What's my authority? Full discretion. If he poses an immediate threat, you're authorized to eliminate him. Otherwise, gather evidence for trial. Cassian's smile didn't reach his eyes. I trust your judgment. Larissa closed the folder. When do I start? Immediately. He lives in the family manor outside the city. Shouldn't be difficult to make contact. Necromancers are always looking for rare texts, unusual specimens. Offer him something interesting. Get inside. Do what you do best. She nodded. Took the folder. Turned to leave. Larissa. She stopped at the door. This one's important. The Ashtars, they represent a certain instability in our magical community. Old families who believe their lineage puts them above council oversight. Cassian's voice was measured, reasonable. We can't have precedents. If one necromancer summons demons and escapes consequence, others will follow. This is about order, about protecting everyone. Larissa nodded. The words sounded right. But the eagerness in his eyes said something else entirely. I understand, counselor. She turned to leave, but Cassian spoke again, almost to himself. Malachai. The name hung in the air. If the reports are accurate, that's who Ashtar summoned. A very particular demon? One who trades in emotions rather than souls. Larissa stopped. You know which demon he used? I know many things, Huntress. Things I've spent 30 years learning. Cassian's smile didn't reach his eyes. The Ashtars aren't the only family with forbidden archives, but they may be the first to successfully complete a Malachai bargain without breaking. And if word spreads that such bargains are survivable. He didn't finish. Didn't need to. If demon bargains became seen as viable options rather than death sentences, the entire balance of power in the magical community would shift. And Cassian, who had built his career on being the gatekeeper between mortals and demons, would become irrelevant. This wasn't just about Sirius Ashtar. This was about Cassian's future. Report back within the week, Cassian said, the mask of reasonableness sliding back into place. Larissa left the office, folder tucked under her arm, mind already working through approach strategies. Cassian wanted Sirius Ashtar dead. Whether the necromancer was actually guilty of anything was apparently irrelevant. This was political. Personal. An execution wearing the costume of justice. She'd done this before. Would probably do it again. But something about this one felt wrong. the eagerness in Cassian's voice, the personal vendetta, the presumption of guilt before investigation. Larissa descended the tower steps, emerged into afternoon sunlight that felt too bright, too clean for what she'd just agreed to do. She had a job, target acquired. Simple. So why did her hands feel dirty already? That night, Larissa sat in her apartment, Ashtar folders spread across the table. Sirius Ashtar, necromancer. Recently saved his brother from a death curse through unknown means. No criminal record, no complaints, no evidence of demon summoning except Cassian's suspicion. But Cassian was a council member. His word carried weight, and Larissa was a weapon pointed wherever the council aimed. She'd made peace with that years ago. Hadn't she? Larissa closed the folder, poured herself a drink, stared out the window at the city lights. Tomorrow, she'd make contact, observe, document, report. And if Sirius Ashtar was innocent, then he'd die anyway, because Cassian wanted him dead. And Larissa was very, very good at making people dead. She drank. Let the whiskey burn away the doubt. Tomorrow. She'd start tomorrow. And Sirius Ashtar, fearless, compromised, protected by a demon he didn't understand, had no idea what was coming.